Okay, so we think the patient, or we've diagnosed the patient with an FRS to the right. What that means is that the left facet is stuck open and to the right. It can't extend, side bend, and rotate left. So it can't close on the left side. So the rule of thumb is you lie the patient down with the dysfunctional facet side up. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to palpate the interspinous spaces, and I want to localize my extension barrier. How do I do that? Remember from our PIVM testing, we're going to bring the lower legs down into extension to localize until I feel this bottom one trying to close, or L5 in this case. Okay. Now, I don't want to lose that. I might allow the patient to bend his leg just a bit so that he can balance. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to lose my extension barrier. So I keep my hand pulling forward. I'm going to switch hands. My right hand, or my caudal hand now, is going to block that level below. In this case, it's the sacrum, because L5 is the one that's dysfunctional, and give it just a little drag forward. Now what I'm going to do is take the upper body and rotate it down to get the rotation barrier. As I rotate down, what I'll do is in this case, I will thread the needle. I'm going to palpate the interspinous space and block the level below. And I'm going to take, if I can, my cranial hand onto the spinous process of the level that I'm trying to move. The mobilizing force, or the direction, the guidance force, will be down toward the table to create the rotation as I rotate my patient down to his rotation barrier. My body's going to slowly turn with him. And in this case, I've localized my rotation barrier, which is pretty stiff, so I'm going to ask the patient to perform a muscle energy technique here. So what he's going to do is take a small breath in and push into me, or try to rotate against me. Right now what I'm using is a long lever arm of my arms creating the rotation, and the short lever arm are my fingers creating a rotational force of that upper vertebrae, trying to get it to rotate to the left. So here's where I am. Patient takes a breath in and pushes into me, or tries to rotate his body toward me. He relaxes. I take him a tiny bit further. So I'll do that until I perceive a change in his rotational barrier. And then if he can, I'm going to ask him to hold on to the table behind him. If that's not possible, I just let him hang his arm back, or I rotate his entire body back toward the table. Now, without losing this new barrier, I'm going to switch hands again. My cranial hand comes down to palpate and hold. I want to relocalize my extension barrier. So what I'm going to do is come under my patient. I'm using a sheet, so I'm going to be under the sheet just a bit. And I'm going to cinch that last bit of extension back up, relocalizing my extension barrier. Lastly, without losing that new barrier, I'm going to come down to the patient's lower extremity. Now I'm going to do one last thing, which is to add my side bending barrier. In this position, he's extended and rotated to the left. If I lift his leg up at all, he's side bending left. If I lift his lower leg up, it just increases the rotation a bit, so I can use that. Or I can abduct his lower extremity, creating side bending. The muscle energy here is for the patient to push down into my arm. So go ahead and push down gently. And he relaxes. As he relaxes, I add a little bit more localization, and I ask him to push down again. And relax. 3 to 5 times, or until I perceive a change in that barrier. Okay?